Hello and welcome to today's fall colors painting demonstration. I'm going to be painting a looking up perspective into some fall trees. I have the reference photo here and that will be available in the Art Community Discord. The links are in the description below. I believe this to be a very beginner-friendly painting demonstration, and we are going to start the same as per usual with the underpainting, large filbert brush, and I'm going to be using burnt sienna to do the first pass, starting with the darkest values. Now it's going to be different than our source image because our main tree, our primary focal point with the biggest draw, is going to be a brighter yellow than the surrounding trees. So I'm going to start in the corners. They're going to be a little bit darker than the interior foliage. I do have a light source that's going to be coming from the top right. And a lot of the brush strokes that I'm going to be using are going to be kind of swirly. I'm going to be focusing on painting masses of leaves rather than individual leaves. That way the shape of the tree takes dominance as an interesting form. I'm just using the side of the filbert here. I have a very vague pencil drawing to follow along to, just marking out where I'm going to put some big branch areas. And our primary tree trunk, that is the only trunk that's going to be showing. And unlike the reference photo, I am going to be blocking out a lot more sky color. The sky color, instead of it being 50-50, it looks like 50-50 cool to warm colors, which is less interesting. I'm going to go predominantly warm. I don't know why I grabbed it. I think I grabbed the blue because I was talking about it. Not yet. Gonna grab some cadmium yellow and continue on those other trees. I will be going to the main tree, but I'm gonna use just yellow on the main tree. Making sure not to leave any brush strokes that if I saw them at the very end of the painting, I'd be sad about it. Making sure that each one is put down with some purpose. A lot of the underpainting is going to be visible at the end of this. Which is great because the paper will make it glow from the first layer all the way through. Now I'm gonna put a little bit of burnt sienna on that trunk, not a lot. And now a very light color, burnt sienna and yellow for the what's going to be the sky area, which is such a smaller area than in the reference. I think it's going to be very successful. There, we can still tell what's going on. I'm going to make sure to cover up any little white flecks that are showing. a little bit more texture, and I'm darkening the corners, and that's going to keep your eye more towards the middle of the painting. You'll notice that I'm using a lot of pouncing. That's going to give us a nice texture, natural texture, implying that there's lots of leaves and layers of leaves and light showing through leaves. This is going to be kind of a vague tree, a vague fall tree, although it could be an aspen. Now I am done with this big brush. Big filbert is done with. Gonna put that aside. I'm gonna switch over to the small filbert brush. Now I'm really liking a lot of this color as it is, so I'm gonna add a little bit more gradient to the color. Gonna pick up some cadmium red with just a touch of yellow. And on these orange tree areas, I'm going to add some different bunches. I'm using the side of the filbert. Making sure not to emphasize too many individual shapes, just big masses, clumps of shapes. Adding a bit more red just towards the edges, getting a more complete vignette look. I might leave that corner alone though. I don't think we need to be pulled to that side. Got a little bit more water on my brush now, and I think that is just fine. It's going to give some transparent type gradation to these areas. Okay, now I'm going to rinse my brush out pretty well, even with the clean water, and I'm going to grab just straight cadmium yellow. I'm going to go to our primary tree shape, our tree of interest, and I'm going to lay in some thicker yellow areas. Just ever so slightly darker on the edge of the tree and coming down into the borders. And I'm going to leave it so that this area here, more towards the middle of the painting, is going to be lighter. I am going to be using some white. For that effect, here it is. I'm going to mix it right here. less than 25% white on that yellow. That is going to give it more coverage. Use just a little bit more white, and I'm just smearing it on our paper for transparency, but I'm gonna brighten up the interior of the tree where I believe the eye is going to be drawn to most, which will be this dark branch right in here, and extending out that white towards the sun a bit. We've only used filberts so far in this painting, which is kind of fun. Okay. Now what's going to be really neat about this painting process is we're doing all the warm colors first, and that's going to take advantage of the luminosity of the paper coming through, and then all the cool colors will be at the end, but that's really going to punch up the impact of this painting. So now I'm going to put that filbert away, and we're going to switch over to our #1 liner. I'm going to be doing the branch work now. I'm going to make sure that our primary tree is higher contrast than our other branches, but not by much, just by a little bit. And the way that I make our darkest value is going to be with the burnt sienna and ultramarine blue. But I'm just going to bring in a little bit of titanium white to lighten the value for our more orange trees. So this is like a warm medium brown. And just everywhere that I have penciled branches, I'm going to make sure to overlap that and maybe even add some. And these branches don't necessarily need to be from completely off the painting. They can originate from inside those leaves. They can also extend out from the leaf areas into the sky area. If you would like to do that, you may want to save that branch until after the blue is in and dry. Make sure to have enough water in your brush for bristle control. It's easier to go over a line twice than it is to correct a blobby line or a shape that you're not in love with, which is a sad story. Unfortunately, I didn't mix enough of our medium brown since I was doing it with the liner, which is generally a no-no. There we go. The perk of using so few colors is that everything is easy to mix again. You know how to get back there. All right, now for our last orange trees down here. Something kind of magical and enchanting about this perspective. This would make a nice little accent to a shelf for your fall season. It's easy to get carried away and put in a lot of branches, which is why I do suggest making sure that the ones that you want are penciled in for sure. And you can kind of judge them without color before you're filling every space with a little branch. I think I like it right there. Okay, so now I'm going to do the right thing and mix the next branch color with the palette knife. Burnt sienna, ultramarine blue. And then I'm going to make a gray at the top. Okay, there we go. Sticking with that liner, I am going to eventually employ the flat because I do want a little bit of bark texture on the interior of that trunk. But I'm going to start with these smaller secondary branches. And I want those to be a little bit lighter in contrast than the main focal point, which is going to be a third up and a third in from the bottom. Make sure there is enough water in your brush to where you can get a nice point on the end of your branches, those dainty little spots. They are fairly high contrast, so it may bug you if they're blobby or not tapered. You can make your branch shapes pulling away from the main area, the main trunk, or going towards it. Just depends on the angle of the branch and how comfortable your hand is going a certain direction. Sometimes it depends on the day. I'm feeling a little shaky today, actually. Caffeine intake can play a role in hand steadiness, but sometimes I feel like I've drank quite a bit of caffeine and didn't feel any kind of difference. It really depends on the day. Okay, now the darkest color. The light is coming from the upper right, so this is going to be the left side of the tree. It's going to be the absolute darkest. And I'm going to pull some of that towards the middle. Rinsing that out. And now that lighter warm gray, call it kind of a beige. Adding a little bit more white on there. I'm going to do the right side of the tree. Okay, now the script brush is away for now, or the script or the liner, whatever you have on hand. I'm gonna switch over to the 1/4 inch flat. Now that light beige, I'm gonna add a bit more white. And now I'm thinking I want to drag from the sun side over to the darker area, even though that is really awkward hand placement for me. We'll see how it goes. I am alternating from using the full side of the brush to just the edge, depending on how much space I have here. Very shaky day indeed. Can still be done. Now I'm going to pick up some pure white and highlight just a couple of areas. This would be the bark that would be nearest to us, not totally on the light side. There we go, great. Now it's time to mix the cools. So I am going to try to convey the side the sun is on by going lighter in color in the upper right corner. Clean up that side of the white there. Just using cerulean blue and titanium white. Any visible yellow is just going to be from shining through from the underpainting. I'm going to go pretty light on the blue. Make sure my flat brush is nice and clean for this. And I'm going to start with the almost white right up here. Now I'm going to negative paint these trees in, and I'm going to cut into the shapes that I've painted for them using both the flat side of the brush and also the corner, just alternating the shapes, making sure there's not too much pattern visible. I think this is a very fun and different way to paint trees. Kind of gets you out of your right brain. painting trees without painting leaves would be a good way of thinking about it. Okay, now I'm picking up progressively bluer paint. And some of these brush strokes can be quite thick. Adding more drama. Now it is a trick, if you're going back to the lighter side of the sky, make sure to pick up the correct color blue. You do that if you see something you want to add over there, which is fine, just go back to that lighter shade. And you are going to want to do that because you're going to want to add some little dots of sky closer to your branches on the interior of these big leafy shapes that you've made. You know, I like where that blue meets the trunk. I'm gonna make that area a little bit bigger. Okay, now that I have all the main sky holes in, I'm gonna look and see if I want to add any smaller additions. I don't want to take away from the focal point, but all of these shapes are kind of drawing you in. They're drawing you into the interior, which is good. That's what we want. I think I will just add just a few sky holes up next to some branches. I'm going to be very careful here. And I am doing them in groups. I'm just thickening up a few little areas of paint. Trying to be really mindful of placement. I think I'm pretty happy with that. I might work on this trunk just a little bit. I'm using the flat brush. To add a little bit more curvature to that trunk. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I hope that you enjoyed another fall tree painting, something that I hope that you will try to do at home. That was a fairly fun and not necessarily loose painting process because the branches are very meticulous. You could be looser if that was your style, if you wanted to just have at it with some more expressive branch shapes, that would work as well, as long as you got the layering in the right order with the warms and then the branches and then the cools on top. You're going to have a really luminous, fun, bright fall painting. So I hope that you did enjoy that, and I look forward to painting for you again next Wednesday. And until then, happy painting!